Hello, Crafty Crandall here. Today I want to talk about art journaling. This is something that I wasn't super familiar with a few years ago, but when I started it in 2018, I realized that it was a fantastic way to keep your memories alive in the form of artwork. As a watercolor painter, I bought a watercolor sketchbook that I use for all of my art journaling. I've kept this up for all of the trips that I've taken since 2018, and it has just been so enjoyable. Here you see me painting an art journal entry for my recent trip to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, I've actually been to Pittsburgh several times previously, and so this wasn't a new place for me necessarily. However, this trip aimed to make some new experiences, and it was certainly the best trip to Pittsburgh that I have had thus far. I want to touch quickly on art journaling in general. So what you need to start art journaling is probably a sketchbook. It doesn't have to be a sketchbook. It could be a bullet journal or anything of the sort that you can draw in, but I would recommend a sketchbook of sorts so that you can capture whatever medium really suits you. In my case, I chose watercolor because it is my favorite, but you by no means need to use watercolor to keep an art journal. Additionally, you'll notice that my art journal doesn't have any writing associated with it. The only thing that I typically write in the journal is the location that I traveled to and occasionally either the band that I saw, since most of my travel is related to concerts, or any notable additional place that I went to on the trip, or perhaps the date. But beyond that, I don't really write in my travel journal, and it is totally up to you when keeping an art journal whether you want to do so or not. I've seen some fantastic examples of art journals with a writing component within them as well. Personally, I'm not one for a written journal. I've just never really been much of a writer and find it tedious to write down like a capturing of my thoughts and a capturing of my goings on in my life, and so I prefer to capture it simply visually in my art journal and not really have to bother with all of the writing. There have been so many incredible videos on YouTube kind of illustrating this process and kind of making it more normalized to keep an art journal instead of a written journal, and so I just wanted to add my own take onto that and show you a little snippet into my art journal, though I will say I didn't want to include all of the previous pieces, as someday this art journal will be filled up and I will definitely want to do a sketchbook tour when that happens. I grant you that will probably be a pretty long ways off, as 2020 kind of disrupted any and all traveling that I was doing. So there haven't been a ton of new entries recently, but it's been very exciting to kind of get back into it. And I did spend some time during 2020 kind of revamping and adding to my travel journal places that I went that I didn't just put in right away. So that was also a good use of my time and did add some more diversity into my art journal. Another great thing about keeping an art journal is that in addition to keeping a log of, your life, because this doesn't just have to be about travel, this can be about any facet of your life that you want to document, it can also be a fantastic tool for seeing your progress as an artist. I love looking back to the first couple of pieces in this journal because it brings me back to a point in time where I had just started with watercolors. Like I said, I've been doing this for 3 years now, and it has been such an incredible journey, kind of increasing my skills and becoming a better watercolorist as I've went. It's a really great tool to see that progress all in one place, because this sketchbook is one that I only use for this purpose. So although it's not, added to very often, it does keep a record of all of my improvement over time with the pieces that I do add to it. And so it's a very quick snapshot of my progress in this medium. I think that this could be beneficial for really any artist, even if you're not going to put in like specific events or anything. If you just want to document like any time that you try a new food, or any time that you, buy something new, or any time that you kind of engage with a passion that you have outside of art. So maybe you did something special in a sport, or you've tried a new sport, or you've started a new hobby, or you've made progressions in said hobby. That would be a great thing to really put in your art journal and document it through your art style, and thereby have the record of not only your progress with whatever it is you're documenting, but also your progress with your art. Now, I know that regular sketchbooks can also do this and are a great tool for that as well, and I always encourage everyone to keep a sketchbook. I personally keep several sketchbooks, so this is just one of many sketchbooks that I work on at a time, and it's just yet another great tool for seeing your progress as an artist. Another really great thing about keeping an art journal that can help benefit you as an artist is that an art journal is, if you want it to be, just for you. I happen to be putting mine in a video, so that makes it a little less quote unquote just for me. But you don't have to share this with anyone. It can totally be like a normal journal that you keep for yourself to just reflect on your life. So it can be a great, no pressure place to put your artwork so that you don't have to feel like you need to create the most amazing pieces on the planet. You can literally just have so much fun in your art journal. It is kind of like a messy sketchbook. I know a lot of artists recommend keeping a specific sketchbook that's like cheap, that you don't care about, that has just enough quality to get you through pieces so that you can have a place to just experiment, explore, be messy, and be creative. And I think that an art journal can be a really great place for that if you don't already have one. In addition, it can be a great place to kind of keep a not like a scrapbook, but I mean scrapbooking elements for sure. What you don't see in this piece and what you don't see in this journal, in this video, is that in the back of the sketchbook that I'm using, I have a pocket. And in that pocket, I always put one piece of memorabilia from the trips that I took so that I can, when I'm going back through the artwork, look back through those little pieces of memorabilia. Now, obviously, the pocket isn't very big, and so this kind of limits me to something like a ticket stub. Like I said, I go to a lot of concerts, and so that kind of fits in there very well. In this case, I went to the zoo and aquarium and the botanical garden in Pittsburgh, and so you can see here I am painting this beautiful dragon because we went to the Asian Lantern Festival that the zoo was holding. It was phenomenal. And so in the back of the book, I just have my ticket stub from the Asian Lantern Festival to look back on and remember this awesome trip to Pittsburgh. I highly recommend that you incorporate these types of elements into your art journal because it can be so much fun putting in little scrapbooking or little tokens or memorabilia from your day-to-day life that kind of relate to what you're depicting in your art journal. I think it's just another fun element to get you creative and get you putting things into your art journal that maybe wouldn't have made it there if you didn't have that piece of memorabilia to kind of associate with it. Personally, I require a bit of motivation to kind of keep with my projects, if that makes sense. And this is just one of those really great things that keeps me motivated to continue adding to this journal and continue to reap the benefits of it that I've already spoken about, so I'm not going to reiterate for you here. Speaking again regarding the physical illustration that I am doing in this piece, you'll notice on the right-hand side there was a penguin. There's also that lovely flamingo. Like I said, we went to the zoo, and the Asian Lantern Festival had all of these lanterns, including penguins, which were like the last exhibit, if you will, on the walk through the Lantern Festival. So that was absolutely amazing. Additionally, the flamingos on this trip were incredible. If you have never been to the zoo right when they open, I highly, highly recommend that the next time you're planning on going to the zoo, plan to get there when they open, because the animals are the most active at that point, and it is by far the best time to go to the zoo. In this case, we got to see the flamingos moving around and actually causing quite a ruckus as they were talkative and just absolutely adorable. I don't know about you, but normally when I go to the zoo, the flamingos are pretty stationary and don't really have much going on, and so this was an absolute joy to see, and I just want to reiterate that this was because we got there so early and they were just being let out of their nighttime holding pen, if you will. Pro tips from a zoo goer, because I go to as many zoos and aquariums as possible to see as many different types of animals as I can during whatever travels I happen to be doing. I have actually been to the Pittsburgh Zoo 3 times now, and it is definitely one of my favorites. So if you have never been there, or if you have the opportunity to go to Pittsburgh at any point in your life, I highly, highly recommend it. Additionally, you see a bunch of bridges. If you've never been to Pittsburgh, there are so many bridges there. It is really cool to see, and they are all yellow, and so they are also really visually appealing and have been really fun to paint. I don't know why, because yellow is my least favorite color, but I've been really on a yellow kick lately, and so it was really fun just adding a bunch of yellow to this illustration and kind of bringing to life the views that we got to see while in Pittsburgh. Overall, when I start a new travel journal piece, something that I like to do is consider the composition, because composition is something that I really struggle with in general as an artist, and is something that I am constantly working on in every single piece that I make. My travel journal is a fantastic place to explore different compositions and try to fit different elements in together without it looking too out of place or too strange. In this case, I decided to keep both of the bridges to the lower half of the sketchbook while adding the animals from the light lantern festival up above. This was a really fun piece to do, and my art journal just helps me push through some compositional problems and gives me yet again a place to work on these skills without providing the difficulty or the pressure that a regular full-size illustration would. And also just, if I mess up, chances are that I will still like the illustration anyway, because it is capturing a memory that I truly enjoyed and value in my life. I think that's a really great asset for the travel, or for the art journal or travel journal in my case in general, and I just really want to illustrate that here in, this illustration, and also just in general, that it can be a really nice place to practice. Practicing your artwork is so important, and if you actually want to make an improvement specifically, then this can be a really great place to try things, try new things, see what works, what doesn't work. And honestly, a really cool thing to do now thinking about it would also be to write it right there in your travel journal or in your art journal. Today I tried this. Here's what make like a little T chart, say what works, what didn't, and then you have not only the log of you practicing, but also just the reminder of where you were at that point in your journey, and can then look back on that later, which I just think, again, is just an invaluable resource or reference point that is instilled in this journal that you're keeping. I would love to hear if you have an art journal yourself. If you keep one, what do you illustrate in it? What moments of your life do you kind of enjoy capturing in your art journal? Do you paint in it daily, or is it more of a when you have something to paint in it kind of thing like mine? I definitely don't work in mine daily, and I don't think that I would want to have that pressure upon me to do so. So that's another great place for, my illustrations, is that I don't have to do anything every single day, because that would stress me out, and I know that I would never stick to it, similar to how Inktober has kind of stressed me out in the past. That mentality would bother me. But if you have time for it, I think that's a fantastic way to use your art journal. And then not only are you practicing every day and filling a sketchbook very quickly, but you're also just keeping a physical record of your memories to look back on many years from now, when perhaps some of those memories have faded into the background and you have more or less forgotten about them. I would love to hear down below in the comments if this video has inspired you, if you don't have an art journal, to start one, because I know that I was inspired by YouTube videos myself, and I would really appreciate hearing that feedback from you if you did in fact start an art journal because of this video. But with that, you guys, I really want to thank you for watching this video. I so greatly appreciate your viewership of this channel. I encourage you, if you liked this video, to hit that like button to let me know. Please consider subscribing to my channel down below. I post new art and book related content every single Tuesday and occasionally on Friday. I look forward to catching you guys in the next one. I will see you there. Bye!